The movie starts at a house in the countryside. Two people run outside, chased by two men with guns. One of the fleeing women gets shot, and the other man runs away into the dark. The two men, one old and one young, walk up to the wounded woman. One gives the other a gas can. They pour gas on the woman, and one man drops a lit cigarette on her, setting her on fire and killing her. Then they get in their car, likely going after the other person. Far away, someone dressed in a white robe with a black triangle on their face watches everything. Somewhere else, police officer Daniel Carter is sitting in his patrol car on a quiet road. After talking to the police station, Daniel sees someone crawling out of the trees. He thinks it might be a drunk teenager, but when he gets closer, he sees the man is bleeding and confused. Daniel quickly puts him in the back seat and calls the station to ask which hospital is closest. The dispatcher says the nearest hospital might not be ready because a fire recently damaged part of it, and they're shutting down. The next hospital is 20 minutes away, and since Daniel doesn't know how badly the man is hurt, he decides to take him to the first hospital anyway. When Daniel brings the injured man through the front door, the nurse at the front desk quickly calls for help. She calls Dr. Richard Powell and another nurse named Beverly, who takes the man to be checked. During a quiet moment, Daniel says hello to teenage Maggie and her grandfather Ben. They are there for a checkup on Maggie's late-stage pregnancy. Later, the doctor finds needle marks on the man's arms, showing he used heroin. Daniel realizes some of the man's blood got on his uniform, so he goes to clean it. While he's cleaning up, the front desk nurse brings him a cup of coffee. She turns out to be Allison, Daniel's estranged wife. After Allison leaves, Dr. Powell comes over and tells Daniel to go easy on Allison. He says he understands what it's like to lose a child. In another part of the hospital, a nursing student named Kim is sitting in a patient's room. The patient, Cliff, is annoyed because Kim keeps complaining about how boring and frustrating it is to work at a hospital that is short on staff and shutting down. When Cliff says he's going to sleep, Kim leaves the room. A little later, Daniel is walking through the hospital when he sees Nurse Beverly standing by Cliff's bed. Something feels wrong. As Daniel gets closer, he sees Beverly slowly pulling a pair of scissors out of Cliff's head. She had stabbed him through the eye. Daniel pulls out his gun and tells Beverly to stop. She turns around, and Daniel sees that most of her face is cut off. He tells her to drop the scissors, but she keeps cutting at her skin and says that the face isn't really hers. When she moves toward him, Daniel shoots her and kills her. Allison, Kim, and Dr. Powell come running to see what happened. Shocked and sick, Daniel runs into the nearest bathroom, throws up, and then passes out. While Daniel is unconscious, he sees strange and scary visions. He sees a dark, empty world with swirling clouds in the sky, a creepy-looking nebula in space, and a large black triangle. When he wakes up, Daniel is determined to report what happened, even though Allison and Dr. Powell tell him to calm down. They also tell him that a state trooper came to the hospital while he was passed out. Daniel finds the trooper, named Mitchell, and asks how he got there so fast. Mitchell says he's investigating a mass murder that happened at a nearby house and came because of the injured man Daniel brought in earlier. After hearing about what happened with Beverly, Mitchell scolds Daniel for losing control of the situation. He even insults Daniel by saying his father was a much better police officer and would have handled things properly. Daniel still wants to report what happened with Beverly, so he leaves the hospital and goes to his car outside. When he can't reach anyone on the radio, he sees a strange person dressed all in white with a black triangle on their face. Daniel tries to talk to the figure and walk toward them, but suddenly a loud foghorn sounds in the distance and the hospital lights flicker. The strange person attacks Daniel and stabs him in the chest with a knife. Daniel fights back and throws the attacker off, then runs back into the hospital. Once inside, he passes out again and sees the same dark visions as before. Allison, Kim, and Dr. Powell help him and treat his wound. Soon after Daniel wakes up, they hear a scream coming from the junkie's room. He and Trooper Mitchell run to check it out. Inside, they find Beverly, now a horrifying creature with twisted limbs and tentacles, attacking the junkie. The two officers manage to pull the man to safety and lock the monster inside. Scared by the monster and noticing that the hospital is now surrounded by people dressed like the one who attacked Daniel, the group starts to panic. Suddenly, the two men from the beginning of the movie break into the hospital with guns and demand that the junkie be handed over to them. As Daniel and Mitchell try to calm things down, the junkie grabs Maggie and holds a scalpel to her neck. Dr. Powell carefully walks toward the junkie, trying to get him to let Maggie go, but the junkie stabs Dr. Powell in the neck, killing him. At that moment, the creature that used to be Beverly bursts in through another door and grabs Mitchell, pulling him away. In the chaos, Ben hits the junkie and knocks him out, saving Maggie. Daniel grabs a fire axe and chases after the creature. He turns a corner and sees it holding a barely alive Mitchell, forcing tentacles into his throat and eyes. Just then, the two strange men return and attack the monster, killing it, but they also cut off Mitchell's head in the process. The group puts Mitchell's body on a hospital bed and sets it on fire. Then, they roll it outside into the parking lot. While they try to understand what is happening, Daniel makes a shaky deal with the two strange men. The older one is named Vincent, and the younger one is Simon. We learn Simon cannot speak because of an injury. At that moment, Maggie starts to feel pain. Allison worries about Maggie and her baby's safety and wants to get medicine to help her. Daniel makes a plan to go get his shotgun and ammo from his police car with Vincent and Simon. He tells Allison to wait for him before going further into the hospital. Daniel and the two men go outside and see the car has been moved farther away from the hospital. There are no strange figures around. They run to the car. Vincent watches for danger while Simon opens the trunk and takes out ammo and flares. Daniel tries to unlock the holster for his shotgun. Suddenly, Vincent spots a figure far away. Daniel turns on his car lights and sees many figures standing quietly at the tree line, holding knives. One figure sneaks up behind Simon and gets ready to attack. Daniel quickly grabs his shotgun and shoots the attacker. Then, all three run back fast to the hospital. Meanwhile, Allison is at the hospital storage room to get supplies for Maggie. While she is gathering what she needs, someone who looked like Dr. Powell quietly appears behind her. Daniel goes to find her, and at the hospital entrance, he sees that Dr. Powell's body is missing. He and the two men hurry to the storage room to find Allison. They only find the bag she was using, but no sign of her. While searching, they come across Dr. Powell's office and decide to look inside. Vincent opens a tin box filled with Polaroid photos showing naked women, the mysterious figures, and dead bodies. Then the phone rings. Dr. Powell speaks to Daniel, mocking him, and then hangs up. Desperate for answers, Daniel lets Vincent and Simon question the junkie. They threaten to break his fingers with a hammer if he doesn't explain what's going on. The junkie says he doesn't know much about the cult, but explains that he was lured to the house with the promise of crystal meth. When he got there, he joined a group of other drug users. The cult members, including Dr. Powell, watched the junkies have intimacy, then used them in strange rituals. They did experiments on both the living and the dead. The junkie says he only survived because Vincent and Simon showed up and started shooting everyone, cult members and drug users alike. It's then revealed that Vincent and Simon are father and son. They went to the house to get revenge on the cult for killing their family. Daniel, desperate to find Allison, convinces Vincent and Simon to go with him into the burned-out part of the hospital. He believes that's where Dr. Powell took her. As Daniel, Vincent, Simon, and the junkie go deeper into the burned-out part of the hospital, Kim helps guide them over the radio. But soon, she loses track of where they are and realizes they've somehow entered a part of the hospital that shouldn't exist. The radio cuts out, and the four men find themselves in a strange, maze-like area. Symbols and a large triangle are carved into the floor. Meanwhile, in another part of the hospital, Allison wakes up on an operating table. Dr. Powell is nearby, washing bloody tools and picking pieces of skin off his own body. He tells Allison that after his daughter died, he searched for a way to go beyond death and become something greater. He also wanted to find a way to bring his daughter back to life. Powell says he found something that showed him how to do this. He started a cult and began doing experiments on both the living and the dead. He mentions that the hospital fire was caused by one of his failed experiments, which are still around, even though they want to die. As Powell continues to peel off his own skin, he pulls back the sheet covering Allison. Her stomach is swollen, and something inside it is moving violently. Daniel, Vincent, and Simon continue searching and find a room full of rotting, mutilated corpses. It's clear these bodies have been experimented on in horrible ways. Suddenly, Vincent starts seeing visions of his dead wife, and the corpses come to life and begin attacking them. The group fights the monsters off for a short time. Then Vincent sees an image of his wife holding their baby and runs after her through a doorway, with Simon following close behind. Daniel and the junkie run in another direction. But a creature grabs the junkie and slams his head into the floor again and again, killing him. Daniel escapes. Back upstairs in the hospital, Maggie begins to feel intense pain again. Kim realizes she must perform an emergency C-section or both Maggie and the baby will die. Kim starts to cut but panics and says she can't do it. As Ben begs her to try, Maggie suddenly slits his throat. She reveals she's part of the cult and is carrying Dr. Powell's child. Cult members start entering the hospital, and Kim hides inside a cabinet. Meanwhile, in the tunnels, Simon follows Vincent. The area strangely starts turning into their old home. Simon finds Vincent kneeling beside the dead bodies of his wife and baby. Suddenly, Vincent attacks Simon, yelling at him and asking why he didn't protect them. Then the illusion fades, and Vincent comes back to his senses. Daniel finally finds the room where Allison is being kept. She's lying alone on the operating table and looks pregnant. Daniel gently touches her stomach and kisses her as she quietly asks him to stay with her. But suddenly, the illusion fades. Daniel is now standing over Allison's body. Her stomach has exploded, and tentacles are spilling out. From somewhere nearby, Dr. Powell speaks, saying he gave her what she always wanted, to be a mother. Horrified, Daniel picks up his axe and repeatedly hacks at what's left of Allison. He then enters a large room with a glowing triangle on the wall. Dr. Powell appears and starts lecturing Daniel about his experiments and his understanding of life and death. He offers Daniel a place in his cult and says he can bring Daniel's child back, but only if Daniel is willing to die first. Daniel refuses. Suddenly, Maggie stabs him in the back. As he falls to the ground, a now skinless, monstrous Dr. Powell explains that he's discovered a way to bring his daughter back to life. He asks Maggie if she's ready, then kneels in front of the glowing triangle. He begins chanting, and the triangle opens, revealing a blinding white light, and they disappear. Maggie, now terrified, suddenly explodes as a monstrous creature. Powell's daughter, Sarah, emerges from her body. Vincent and Simon arrive and try to fight the creature. It overpowers Vincent, but he pours isopropyl alcohol on both himself and the monster. This gives Simon the chance to light them on fire with a flare. Powell tells Daniel he can be with Allison again if he stops fighting and just lets go. But Daniel refuses. He tackles Powell, and the two of them fall into the glowing void together. Meanwhile, the Sarah creature chases Simon, but he manages to escape. He's suddenly teleported back to the hospital, where he safely reunites with Kim. The film ends with Daniel and Allison holding hands in another world, standing beneath a massive black pyramid. Powell's fate remains unknown. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.